Okay, hello everybody. Hoping everybody can hear us. It looks like we do have quite a few participants. So before we get started, I'm going to set it up to where we can see any chats or questions that you guys send out. There we go. Awesome. Panelists, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so first, want to thank everybody who's joining us today. This is our very first webinar, very first time that I think for sure myself have ever done anything like this, and I'm not sure about Kate and Mike, but we're hopeful that this is going to go smooth. But again, cut us a little bit of slack because it's going to be our first webinar, hopefully of many. So hope you guys enjoy it, and want to start with just introducing myself as JB Slimp, director of Blaze Softball, and really happy to be here today with you guys. And then I'll let our other two panelists introduce themselves.
I'm Caitlyn Cain. I coach with the 18U and 14U United teams, and I'm the director of player development for the Texas Blaze program, along with I'm our go-to person with the One Softball app. So happy to be here, and thank you guys for showing up.
What's up, y'all? This is Mike Prinzo. Can y'all see me? Okay, well, I just can see y'all. I can't see me. So I like to see me, you know. I'm a pretty guy. You know, how is everybody going? 16 United coach, VP, JB's right-hand man. Help Caitlyn out, too. Help with recruiting, sports recruits, blast, you name it. I'm here to help you guys out. So looking forward to the meeting, and let's get started.
All right, let's do it. So we're going to try to keep this from dragging on too long. We're going to try to keep it right about an hour. Don't forget there is a chat feature, and I believe there is a Q&A feature that you guys can use to ask questions. We believe we have that set up correctly, but hopefully you guys can check that out or let us know if you are able to do that. Let me see if I can see y'all's chats here. Okay, here we go. And also there's a couple of polls that we put up. So if you guys don't mind, they're just anonymous polls. It's not going to put your name by it or anything like that, but just answer that poll question to, you know, just let us know a little bit about sports recruits and whether you're on that platform already. So as you may have seen on the, when I shared my screen, I'm going to share this one more time so you guys can see this. This is going to be what we are talking about today. It's our Be Recruited 101 webinar, and the topics for discussion. We're going to talk a little bit about what the Be Recruited program is. And then we're going to talk specifically about using sports recruits in that platform. And then we're going to talk about emails and some recruiting timelines. And then we're going to open it up to some questions. And we're also going to have a guest panelist a little bit later. A young lady who went through the recruiting process and currently plays in the Blaze. So we're bringing her in a little bit more towards the end. So with that being said, want to start with what is the Be Recruited program? Let me stop sharing here so you guys can see me talking. So what is the Be Recruited program? So the Be Recruited program is basically a model that we as a program have been working on for over 10 years. And when I say a model, what I mean is it's not just a word that describes being recruited. It's an actual model that we've built and been working on and trying to improve as recruiting changes. And really there's three pillars to the Be Recruited program. The first pillar is the interpersonal connections. So what I mean by that is people in the Blaze that have been working on the recruiting aspect, whether it's our recruiting coordinators or our coaches, we've been focused on relationships and building relationships with college coaches and other influencers and recruiting. And we've been spending a long time doing this. So through developing those relationships, we've been able to gain some trust that helps us with helping you guys in your recruiting journey. So I think any good recruiting model in a travel program has to have the interpersonal connections, right? And so how might those help you guys specifically, maybe other than the obvious of us knowing coaches around the country? Well, a couple of ways. So essentially, us building these relationships helps to build credibility and trust. So when I say that, I mean, if a college coach is going to recruit a Blaze kid, they have at least a good idea of the type of program that we run. And it helps them to understand, hopefully what type of kid they're getting that's gone through our program. So building that trust with the college coaches is super important. And so, yeah, we've been spending a lot of time doing that. Also, I think trusting our environment from a player development standpoint, understanding the things that we're focused on in the player development part of it and developing our athletes so that they can hopefully have a better understanding of the type of kid they're getting on campus on day one. So really it comes down to just entrusting our program and having an idea of what we're doing to prepare kids for the next level. And that's a big part of the process. Another pillar is going to be excuse me, sorry, I lost my notes here. Grab this. Another part of the pillar is our tech and data. Now we'll get to the sports recruits part in a sec, and that's part of the technology, but Mike's going to take that over. But on the tech and data, what I mean by that is using technology to your advantage, whether that's data for your player development or whether that's technology for marketing yourself as a player. Because one of the super important parts about being successful at recruiting is understanding how to market yourself as a player and build your resume. And using technology can be very helpful in that. And that's really where sports recruits comes in on the technology side and helping you prepare and keep all of your information in one place and use that technology. But beyond that, another way that technology helps in the recruiting process is in the player development piece. So for an example, we're partnered with Blast, and Blast obviously creates data for athletes to help colleges understand some of the things that they're working on. So Blast is about offense, obviously, but colleges are already using that as well. So being able to draw those correlations and those data points between what we're doing with our athletes in Blast and colleges can be very helpful in the recruiting process. Another data company that we're partnered with is On Deck Softball, who does technical measurements for athletes, a little bit more traditional athletic data testing and stuff like that. So that's another big part of what colleges are looking for as well, is trying to understand where athletes are athletically. So when I say partnering or tech and data, that's what I mean when it comes to recruiting is using tech to both in the player development realm and then, so I lost my train of thought there. Okay, so let's see. I think on the last part I want to talk about real quick on the interpersonal relationships, because I didn't touch on this and I should have. One of the ways that we can help you guys as Blaze members is helping you in your correspondence with colleges, because obviously there's only so much that you can do. And a lot of times I know that players and parents feel like they're sending stuff out into a black hole because they can't get a lot of information back from college coaches. And certainly before your junior year, you really can't get much at all. So where we can be helpful is that we have a little bit more information that we might be able to give to college coaches or to receive from them. So for an example, let's say you're going to attend a camp. We might be able to, for you, go out and let that college coach know that you're going to be attending their camp. And we can also touch base with that college coach after camp and maybe talk a little bit about your performance there. Although we can't get into specifics, we can at least find out maybe if that college is going to pursue recruiting you in any way. So doing a few things like that can be helpful to you guys, because it's really hard for y'all to get that information. So that falls under the interpersonal relationships, and I think is something that's of super value. So with that being said, I think we'll move on to the sports recruits part of the Be Recruited program, and I'll turn that over to Mike.
Sorry about that. I was replying to a chat. So how's everybody going? Let me get the screen up here for you guys. Okay, so what we have here is, sorry about that, is a profile on sports recruits. This is one of our 14 United players, Ariel, and basically this is what it looks like. Hopefully all y'all have had this filled out. But a couple things I want to point out that really helps make good profile for the college coaches. First thing, the headshot right here. Make sure it's a headshot and not a player action picture. Because it puts a face to the actual person's name. The pictures are very small, as you can see there, and it's very difficult for a college coach to, see the player's face if it's an action shot. Also, make sure you fill in positions. Some people don't have positions in there. Positions are really good. Lets coaches know about positions the kids can play. Right here is a new feature. You can put your number one video. You can put that in here. Be able to show people, your probably like a skills video or something. If you have, that would probably be a good spot for that. Or you just have a certain highlight you want to highlight, the first thing you want people to see. That's a good spot to put that. Then you have your other videos. You can put these in order of how you want to see them. Obviously, you probably want to put your more recent stuff towards the top. But it's not a bad idea to also keep some old videos on there so that colleges can actually look at some of your old stuff and look at some of your new stuff. That way they can kind of compare and see the differences in the game that you've done for yourself. So those are always the good things to have. Right here is more profile information, contact information. This is a new feature that I just rolled out a couple of weeks ago. It's called the personal statement. Players can go in there and just kind of leave a little description about themselves for the college coaches to see. Definitely would highly recommend that for everybody to fill in. Right here, you have your select team, and then you have your high school team information. Don't forget to put your high school stuff on there. College coaches do reach out to your high school, so it's always, and they show up to high school games, so it's always a good thing to have that information on there for the schools, because they may reach out to your high school coach and ask about you. So make sure you have that on there. They got this new position feature. As you see, Ariel plays everything, so everything's green. But obviously, if she only played, let's say, pitcher, it would just be a green job on the pitching slot. But it just kind of fills it in, just adds more graphics to it. Shows the hitting and the throwing. Just can add height on there and weight if you want. Not everybody does that. You don't need to. Then right here you have your athletic honors, additional information you can fill in here. Definitely put that stuff on there just to let coaches know what things you've accomplished as a ball player. Your events here, this will be basically your tournament schedule. Your coaches will be filling that in. As you can see right here, you have the Texas State Championship and the Triple Crown Nationals are on here. This right here, you can actually click on it. It takes you to the actual link to the tournament, so they can actually pull up your schedule and stuff like that. Then here's your GPA. Definitely keep that updated. And then any other stuff you want to share with your college coaches. The next thing I want to kind of go over is the messaging part. It's going to bring up my messaging, not Ariel's. Just a second here. And right here, mine's cleaned it out for the show. But you can go in here and where'd it go? Sorry. Compose. And right here, obviously, you can fill in just like a regular email. What's really cool about the Sports Recruits emails, let's say you have an email account. It's going to send an email to the college coaches. It's not going to say Sports Recruits, Mike Prinzo. It's going to say mikeprinzo@gmail.com. So it'll look like a regular email going to the college coaches, not just some spam email. So you have right here the two you can put in the college coaches. Basically, what you'll want to do is type in the college, using Baylor as an example. Also, type in Baylor. Mary Hardin-Baylor came up as well. Right here gives you the coaches that you can email to. All you got to do is select it. And then let's say I click Glenn. It also allows me to also add in Brittany and Mark and John as well. Or if I decide I just want to send it to two coaches, you can do that as well. And then you also have your copy here. Linked athletes, that's for me. It's not necessarily for the players. So when I'm communicating with a college coach, I could type in Ariel's email profile right there. And that way, when I send an email and I'm talking about Ariel or any of the players, it'll automatically send the profile. So the college coach will get that profile. They don't have to go digging looking for it. But when you guys send an email, your profile will automatically be on there. So you don't need to add it on there. It'll automatically populate when you send the email. Make sure you fill in your subjects. For subject, we'll go into more about the email, but just make sure it's real clear, short, and right to the point. And then your message. And then obviously go ahead and send that off. And let's see, that's kind of getting into the email. And then you have the school feature here. The school feature, what's cool about this is you can type in any school in the country and find out information about the school. That may help you in your decision making on whether you want to go to the school or not. I'm sorry it's taking so slow. There we go. So this automatically just starts populating, and there you got 1,706 schools populated in there. Again, you can go in here and type in the actual school name. So again, here's Baylor. Gives you short information, but clicking on actual Baylor. Now you have the school, shows some committed kids to the school. Does show other sports. So you have the undergrad enrollment. You have athletic stuff, coaching staffs. From here, you can actually send a direct email. If you get excited about what you're seeing on there, your school profile, student faculty ratio, graduation rate, enrollment by gender, housing, acceptance rate, SAT, SAT scores recommended for the school, other requirements, cost, in-state, out-of-state, majors. So if you're looking for a particular major, you can find out if that school has it, and stuff like that. So that, again, you don't have to go to the actual website of each school. You can do it from this one website. So it makes it a lot real easy to help yourself find schools. Let's see. One other thing you can do with this as well is, let's say you just want to kind of be close to home.
Also, I put this in the chat while Mike's looking for that. There's some great questions already. You guys keep those questions coming. We're going to try to compile them and then answer them in the back half of this. So if we don't get to the answer of your question immediately in the chats, just know that we are taking note of them and we'll answer them a little bit later. So just wanted you guys to know that.
Sorry about that. Having an issue with the computer and the service in the room. But again, you can right here is location. You could type in your location. This is miles away from you. You can also select by region to find schools that are in your region. You can look at the academics, pick out the academics that you have or what you're looking for. So they'll kind of pencil in the schools that you're wanting to look for. And then here's athletics, divisions, conferences, and stuff like that. Again, just kind of really simplifies things for you if you have specifics that you're trying to do to help yourself use this source. And then one more thing, if you're new to this and you really just, how do I get to this? How do I really use this to help myself out the most? What they have is they have webinars similar to what we're doing, but basically just on sports recruits. And what you would do is you just go, how I got there is just go into your help menu right here. And then it'll bring up this screen right here and then just come down to frequently asked questions and click on that. And it's the very first thing that's on there, Sports Recruits Webinars, everything you need to know. You can click on that and then just click on this little guy. That is not me, I do have hair. You just click on that. And right here, you'll be able to click on webinars that they've had. Sports Recruits 101, how COVID-19 has affected the recruiting process, how social media can help you, and then the importance of videos and some of their video stuff. But again, you can get in there and sign up for these webinars as well as play the ones that have been done already. So that's all I got on the sports recruits. And if you ever have any questions about this, feel free to directly message me and I'll definitely get on the phone and help you out with anything you need with this. Thank you.
Oh, JB, you're muted.
I was wondering, was like something wrong with mine?
Sorry, I was muted. So I think next we're going to move to Coach Kate and we're going to talk a little bit about, I know one of the questions that we get most often is about emails and the types of emails you should be sending, when you should be sending them and that sort of thing. So we're going to touch on that a little bit right here. And I think Coach Kate is going to lead us on this one. So over to you, Coach Kate.
Okay. Hi, guys. Yeah, so talking about emails a little bit, I saw we already got a question from Emily Baker about it, so we're going to discuss it here. A theory I've heard from one of my friends, Sue Inquist, who actually was able to join us on this panel for a little bit. She taught me the 50-10-3 rule. So for her, this means find 50 schools that you're interested in that are graduating the position the year that you are graduating high school. So basically, they'll be seniors in college when you're a senior in high school. So that way you're able to figure out from those 50 schools, do they need you? This is the part of the process that definitely takes the most time, takes the most work, but it can be highly worth it for you to really figure out if that school has a need for your specific position. So you want to do all the math on the positions they've lost. So out of those positions, was that girl a starter who graduated? If she wasn't a starter, she probably wasn't on a scholarship. So that's good information for you to know. This will let you know whether or not there might be scholarship money available for you. After you've gone through these 50, you'll be able to get down to the 10-ish schools that actually fit what you're looking for. And those are the 10 that you should start emailing. This way you're not emailing too many people and you're not just sending blast emails to all the dream schools. Yes, it's good for us to start with that list, but we want to be able to narrow it down so you can find your right fit. So once you get down to those 10 and you start communicating with them, you'll be able to, after some time, narrow it down to your top 3. So that's that 50-10-3 rule. I like that a lot because it saves you time and it saves the school's time. After talking to a lot of college coaches, a pet peeve for them is getting so many templated emails all the time that are from kids that it's probably not going to be the right fit for you. So it's important for us to do that research, filter through that system so you can really find the right fit for you, where you want to spend your next potentially 4 years. All right. And then when it comes to recruit emails, I'm going to share my screen here. Okay. All right. So recruit emails. We should have a few templates that we refer to as athletes. That way we can use these and we have them ready to go for those top 10 or top 3 schools that we'll be communicating with. We get questions a lot about the subject line. So for us, the Blaze standard should be have your grad year, your position, your team, and your name. You want it to be searchable so that coaches can find your email. So make sure you use your full name. You should have an intro template. This is be the first time that you're making contact with a coach. It should be short and sweet. It should have your athletic and academic information, and then include one personal line in there. So something that relates directly to the school. For example, my dad went there. I love the campus. The school has my major. Use that one personal line to create a connection with the school and to stand out. An update template. So this will be the template that you use. This will be a message you send every few months to update the coaches that are in your circle, that are in those top 10 or top 3 that you're communicating with. So update them on your life, select ball, high school, academics, etc. You can also create a preseason template. So this is what you'll use to send them your entire tournament schedule. It's good for them to know coaches start creating their schedule of the tournaments they're going to go to months in advance. So as soon as we get our season schedules from our coaches, we want to start sending that out to our top 10. You'll also have a pre-tournament email that you can send out. So this will be the game schedule. You can check tournament websites to see which schools are attending. I know from the 1 year that I coached at Williams College, if we were going to a tournament, we started making our schedule for the games we were going to go to the Monday before that tournament. So if we got emails on Thursdays with the schedule, then they probably weren't going to be on our list because we already had our schedule made for those tournaments that release game times early. So it's important, again, when you get that information, get on the coaches list early. Post-tournament emails you're going to send to coaches who came to watch you play. You want to thank them. You'll have a pre-camp message you can send. So let coaches know you're going to be attending, mention something that you're excited about with the camp, and mention what you hope to get out of the camp. Let them know you're really paying attention and that you're a student of the game. Lastly, a post-camp template. So this is where you want to thank the coaches, mention your favorite memory, mention something you learned. Again, show them you're paying attention and that you got something out of the camp. Another option that I've seen be successful in the past is personal handwritten notes. So these are nice because, one, they show the coach that you are spending time to actually write something handwritten to them. And most likely somebody's going to open it, a grad assistant, an assistant coach. With coaches getting so many emails, we need to find ways to stand out, right? So a personal handwritten letter can do it. One thing I will mention, I heard from a player today, she's been getting every few days online questionnaires from one of her top schools, and they're sending out with questions as simple as, what's your favorite color? But they're just trying to stay engaged with the players during this time. So that tells us that coaches are in front of their computers, more so than ever during this downtime because their seasons aren't going on. So this is a great time for us to take advantage of that and really work on our 50 to our 10 to our 3 so we can get in contact and stay on top of the recruiting process. That's everything I got, JB.
Wow, that was awesome. Somebody asked about the documents. Yes, we're going to provide that document on the emails. We'll make it available to everybody. I'm not sure if we can share that in the timeline or how we quite do that, but we will get it figured out. And let me get back to my, there we go.
If you're a Texas Blaze, a Texas Blaze player, I'll make sure it gets uploaded on the One Softball app for you. So you'll be able to find it in the education materials library.
Awesome. That was really, really good information. Let's see, we are going to talk a little bit. We're going to go back to Mike on this to lead, but we can, whether it's Kate or myself, we can put stuff in here too, but really just talking about recruiting timelines, and Mike really referring to with the rule changes that we had not too far ago, where they changed the rules on when colleges could interact with the athletes. So do you want to talk a little bit about how that timeline looks right now, especially for our younger viewers who are wanting a little bit more about it? And then, yeah, you want to start with that?
Yeah. So one thing I want to share with y'all is this is obviously a little outdated. Do y'all see it?
Yep.
Why's my screen all weird? Huh. Okay. So basically, this is the NCAA one softball recruiting calendar. You can get this from the ncaa.org site. You just got to search for softball, and this calendar is pretty much a year-round calendar. Now, obviously, they've made some adjustments because of COVID-19. I haven't quite gotten all those updates, so I don't know about if you two have them, but basically, college coaches are still in this kind of the same format. Just obviously, they can't communicate unless the kids are juniors. So September 1st of your junior year is when they can start communicating with you. Obviously, you can communicate with them as much as you want, and they can communicate with us as much as they want. But as you can see on the calendar here, basically they can go out and evaluate players in the blue and the green. The only stipulation with the blue is if it's got a black thing on the top, they can only go to high school games. And where the orange is, this is where they can only go to they can go to select events. So basically our events. But the black, they can go to a high school game. So sending them to your high school schedule doesn't mean, probably won't come, but you never know. We've had schools come to high school games. So definitely send your high school schedules because it may come by, especially local teams like A&M, Texas, Baylor, Texas State. I've seen those schools actually come out to high school games. So definitely, communicate with those guys. And then in the green, this is typically a select season, and the colleges will be out watching events and stuff like that. The red is the dead period. With the College World Series not going on, they may change that. I haven't heard, but the colleges may be out sooner. But it just all kind of depends on this COVID-19 situation. But hopefully, we'll see those colleges as soon as possible. Like Caitlyn said, they're chomping at the bit. They're in front of the computers. If there's any time now to be in front of your computer, it's now. And sending stuff to colleges because they have the time. They have the time to watch videos. They have time to research more on kids. So definitely I would get on there and make sure your profiles are up to date. Your newest videos are on there. And just contact schools, send stuff out to schools, and sports recruits will let you know when they're on your profile and when they're out watching your videos. So that's the kind of feedback you can get without them technically saying, hey, I'm watching your video. So definitely keep up with the calendar and just, do as much as you can with the emails. And then once you're a junior, you can actually start going on visits. Obviously, you can't go on visits now, but once you're a junior, you can go on visits. You can even go on an official visit. Now, most schools are you can only have one official visit, so they typically will save it after you commit for your senior year. But we've had, uncommitted kids be offered official visits. So that does happen, but most often you're going to get an unofficial visit. The differences between that is obviously the unofficial visit is just basically they're inviting you to come and then you're paying for everything. And then the official visit, the school can actually pay for the stuff for you to get down there and visit. So that typically, again, you'll start to see that stuff coming September 1st. And just one reminder on the September 1st thing, if you don't get a phone call, if the college coach doesn't reach out to you September 1st, please don't be discouraged. Don't think you're not going to go to a school, even if most of your friends got some type of communication. Each school has their own time frame and does their own things, approach certain positions first. So don't panic if September 1st rolls around and you're not getting a phone call. If you're out there balling, you're doing your things, you're communicating with coaches, things are going to work out for you, and we'll bust our butt to do what we can to do to help you, get to where you want to go. So you guys have anything on the timeline you guys want to share?
I don't have anything specific to that. I mean, a couple of things that I do want to share, but they're a little bit different. Kate?
No, I'm good.
Okay. So we're going to move. First of all, again, just want to remind you guys that is my mic on this time? Hang on.
Yes.
Okay. I'm learning. Want to remind you that we are seeing some questions, not only through the chat line, but the chat timeline, but we're also seeing some in our Q&A part. And I promise you, we're going to get to those. So you guys hang tight because we'll get to those questions. I'm going to share my screen again here. Let me grab this and let's see. Move. Oh, I have like so many things on my screen right now. Okay. Okay. All right. Okay, I want to go back to a couple of things here. First, when we talk about the Blaze program and the Be Recruited model, it's important to understand we've been doing this a long time. But at the same time, we're also learning. Everything is changing. You can see by this the screenshot that I have here, that we've had a lot of success. We've been a program that's been helping kids get recruited for a little over 10 years, and we've had a lot of success doing that. And sorry, I'm distracted. I don't know if you guys can hear this. Can y'all hear that my lawn is being mowed right now?
Yeah, but it's not very loud.
Sorry. Life at webinar when you're at the house. But I wanted to go to this real quick before we kind of get into our Q&A where we're going to answer your questions. I want to talk a little bit about why we require sports recruits in our Be Recruited model, because I have had this question come up a few times from parents and players just, asking, well, why do we have to do sports recruits? And really the reason is this. First of all, sports recruits in our Be Recruited model is a tremendous value, okay? I didn't mention it earlier, which I should have, but part of our Be Recruiting model when it comes to technology is getting your measurements from On Deck, which is, one of the premier companies in the country. So we include that in our Be Recruited model. Every year our athletes get tested by On Deck. And then plus you're obviously getting the Sports Recruits platform, which is a huge piece of technology to help you guys be successful. So we feel like there's a ton of value in the Be Recruited model to begin with, but also as a program, because it's so important for us to help you guys be successful, we're looking for consistency. We need a baseline of understanding what all of our kids are doing. And if we just have, with over 350, 400 high school athletes, Mike, I'm not sure how many we have in the program, somewhere in that range, we don't want everybody all over the place. We need some kind of consistent way to keep up and to help keep track of the data. So that becomes huge when it comes to something like sports recruits that not only helps you guys, but also helps us on the back end try to figure out what's happening with recruiting with all of our athletes. So it's important that we have some consistency as a program. So those are, really the main reasons why we require all of our high school athletes and even our 8th graders to be a part of the Be Recruited program, so that we know that everybody is engaged at a certain level and working towards being successful, because that's, hugely important for everybody. Okay. Let's see.
Lolo's here, JB.
Yay. Okay. So I need to stop sharing my screen. So you guys can say hello to our guest panelists. This is Lolo, and Lolo plays in the Blaze. She plays under 18 United with me and Kate. And it wasn't too long ago that Lolo went through the recruiting process. So we have her on here to kind of talk a little bit about her experience. So first, welcome Lolo to the panel. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So Kate has prepared a couple of questions that Lolo is going to answer about her journey And then, of course, she's going to be here for the Q&A. So if you have some questions that you might want to ask somebody who's a senior right now, getting ready to move on to college, then it'd be a great time to put some questions out there for Lolo. So let's do it.
All right, Lolo, I'm going to put you on the hot seat first, okay? Ready? Quick questions. What's your favorite color?
Purple.
Favorite ice cream?
Cookies and cream.
Favorite college team?
Careful.
Sam Houston.
Favorite kind of meat?
Favorite kind of meat?
Yeah.
Chicken.
Favorite position?
Catcher.
Favorite coach?
Careful.
Kate and Coach AB.
Good job.
Whoever writes the lineup.
Yeah, right. All right, Lolo, here we go. Now for the stuff that you know. Lolo, when you were going through the recruiting journey, what did you fear the most?
The thing that I probably feared the most was whenever I was on the field, and like I knew that college coaches were there watching my game, that I wouldn't perform to the level that I wanted to perform to in front of them, and then it would make them like not really want me and stuff. So that was something that I always like feared whenever I guess like they were there watching.
So how did you handle that fear? What worked for you?
Well, what I tried to focus on was the fact that college coaches aren't only looking for like how you are as a softball player and how you perform on the field. They also like they want you to be a good teammate and a good person like on and off the field. So I just try to focus more on being that good teammate and being a good person, more than like worrying about how good or bad that I was doing on the field.
What does a good teammate mean to you?
Somebody that's always there to pick up your teammate. Like if say they just struck out and they came into the dugout and like they're upset or something, like you're always there to pick them up and back them up and like give them a little pep talk and everything like that, and like just always have their backs.
Nice. So let's say you struck out, okay, and your college coach is there. What is a bad way to react to that?
Oh, a bad way to react to that is like automatically putting your head down, walking back to the dugout, like putting your bat up against the fence, like really hard and stuff, like kind of throwing a fit, sitting down on the bench and like kind of pushing yourself away from the rest of your team who's cheering on whoever else is like batting after you, and like taking on to the next play, like in the field, if you're bringing your bat that you just had onto the field, and it's just gonna make it all worse.
Yeah.
I think to expand on that, I think it shows a little bit of lack of confidence sometimes in an athlete if they're really dramatic in their failure. It at least gives the appearance of a lack of confidence, which is not really, what you want to project on the field, especially if you're, concerned with how people are evaluating you at that time.
Yeah.
So how could you turn that strikeout into a positive? How could you be a good teammate after a strikeout?
Just by going up to the person, whoever's after me, that's like in the hole or something, you go up there, you tell them kind of what the pitcher was throwing to you and kind of what to expect. And then coming back into the dugout, putting your stuff away, but then immediately going back on the fence and cheering for whoever else is up to bat and like wanting them to do better than you just did, basically.
Awesome. So what is your best memory from the recruiting process?
My best memory is either whenever I was at a camp and like the college coach that was there at the time pulled me off to the side and kind of had like a one-on-one conversation with me, because it just like it made me feel like special, I guess. I don't know. Or whenever I was on my visit to Sam Houston and they offered me, and it kind of just felt like a huge weight was lifted off my shoulders.
Awesome. JB or Mike, y'all have any other questions for Lolo?
No, I mean, that was good stuff. So I think that takes us right into trying to answer some questions. Let's see, we're doing pretty good on time. Looks like we have about 15 minutes, which we're not on a super strict schedule, but at the same time, not looking to keep everybody on here all day. So we're trying to keep this about an hour. So do we want to, let's take a look at some of our questions and then really encourage you guys who are out there participating to ask more questions, because it's a great opportunity and a great forum, because you probably, the question that you have is probably, there's a lot of people that probably are wondering the same thing. So it's a great time to share information. So let's see.
JB, I got them written down. I'll go through them for you. So this first one's for you from Andrea Terry. Is it beneficial to attend as many camps as possible, or should they attend the ones in which they have interest of attending the school?
Well, I will definitely chime in on that. So I think, look, there's only so much time, money, and everything else, for a family. So I think you have to find a way to filter and have priorities. So when it comes to camps, it also, a lot of it depends on where you're at in the process. So if you're early on, so let's say you're young, let's say you're an 8th grader, you really can't be heavily recruited or really recruited at all. So at that point, I think really going to any camps of dream schools that you feel that you have the ability to play at. So really have kind of a wide net, and, go to your dream schools that you can go to. Most families don't have the finances to just go to every single camp, and plus the timelines on the calendars aren't going to allow you to do that. But I would say you would, when you're young, make a list of your dream schools that you think you could play at and try to hit those camps early. Then as you get a little bit closer to recruiting age, you're really wanting to be efficient with the camps that you go to, and you want to make sure that they hopefully have some interest in you before you hit their campus on the camp. So let's say you're a sophomore and you're looking at camps between your sophomore and your junior season. If you're looking at going to the Sam Houston camp, then it makes sense for whatever connections that you have, and in your case, the Blaze, let's find out if that Sam Houston camp maybe is a great fit. Are they looking for your type of position player? Maybe they have there's some exposure to you to begin with. Maybe they've seen you play. So trying to define how much, when you're looking for camps that already have some interest in you, those become a lot more important as you get a little bit older. And I think if you're already into the recruiting window and you're a junior or older, then you absolutely want to make sure that school is looking for a player like you. And because we can have discussions at that point, it's a great time for you to get a hold of your Blaze recruiting coordinator or your coach, and have one of us literally get a hold of that coach. So if I'm talking about Sam Houston again, since we got Lolo here, if you're a junior and you want to go to Sam Houston, reach out to us and have us contact them directly to find out if they have interest in you, because when you are a junior, we can find out what their interest level is. And we can't do that when you're a sophomore or a freshman, beyond whether they have any general interest or not. So as you get older, you get a little bit more defined on the types of camps that you go to. And then as you get older and you move into the recruiting age, make sure you use us to help you guys network to find out if that's going to be a great camp for you to go to.
I think the 50-10-3 rule we talked about with emails even kind of can apply to camps, right? Start out big, looking around, and then narrow it down, get it down to the tip of that pyramid.
Absolutely. Did your document, Kate, have the 50-10-3 rule kind of laid out?
It didn't, but I can create a document for that and also put that on the One Softball app.
Awesome. Okay.
Next question. Prinzo, this is for you, if you want to unmute. So the question is from Mike Smith, and he asked, how do we as parents get access to sports recruits?
Just reach out to me directly, MikePrinzo@gmail.com. I'll put that in the, type that in here for you guys. And I'll get you set up, or find out why you're not set up, get you going and rolling. So definitely just reach out to me directly and I'll get you taken care of.
Awesome. And from Emily Baker, how much is too much when it comes to emailing? Can we bother them? So Emily, I think we addressed this a little bit, but just to clarify, you can bother them. So that's why our template kind of went through, sometimes to send certain emails. For me, if you're emailing on a bi-weekly basis, I don't see that as a problem. But I also don't think you need to email just to email. Have intent with your emails. So I think if you follow those templates, and then also when you're doing update emails, if something interesting happens in your life, you hit an awesome grand slam, send that to them, right? But you don't need to stay in front of them all the time, because if there are times where they see kids' names too much and those kids get written off the list because of that. So it's a fine line, but feel free, I think most of us can use judgment for that, but feel free to contact any of us or talk to your coaches if you have questions about it. All right, JB, you addressed this a little bit in the chat, but I think it might be good to go a little bit more in depth. Mm-hmm. Eddie asks, when is a good time/age to start this whole process? So maybe this way everyone can hear from you if you want to.
Absolutely. So I think our general rule in the Blaze is this. As a 7th grader, we want you to begin to educate yourself, right? At least start understanding and looking into what the process is going to look like for you. So we really want, as a 7th grader, to start educating. As an 8th grader, as I mentioned before, we want you to be fully involved in the Be Recruited model and begin putting your resume together, if you will. Begin attending camps so you can start to understand what that feels like and start to get the ball rolling. Even though as an 8th grader, it's not super important that you're on a ton of colleges' whiteboards or anything like that. I think there's more time to do that. What I think is important is that you understand the process, you're already working the process. So therefore, when you are a 9th grader, you're really ahead of where you need to be in terms of the business part of it. And you're not wondering what to do. Because if you're in 9th grade and 10th grade wondering, what do I do? Then you're definitely behind the curve. So 7th grade, educate yourself. 8th grade, begin the process. And then by 9th and 10th grade, you're up and running fully. But I do want to say this because I did not mention this earlier. One of the most important parts about being recruited is your self-development as a player, right? So you, through this whole process, you need to be working really, really hard to be the best player that you can be. Because it's not enough just to send out emails. You have to be working on your game. So make sure that that is a part of your process, regardless whether you're a 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, or 12th grader, that you're always focused on your work ethic. And does your work ethic meet up with your goals? So I think that's important.
Next question. I'm going to take this one, but JB and Mike, I'd like you guys to give your insights at the end if you have them. And Lolo, you might be able to give us an interesting perspective here as a player if you've talked to your college coach recently. So the question is from Haley Briscoe. What impacts do you see to recruiting with NCAA extending eligibility to 2020 seniors? So this ruling came out yesterday, I believe it was. And so they have extended for the 2020 seniors to get to have another year. For me, I think it'll impact Lolo's grad year. I think it'll impact 2020s. I don't see it impacting really past that, but it does mean that this next coming year, we're going to have 5 classes on some teams instead of the usual 4. Now, each school gets to decide if they want to extend that eligibility, what they're going to do with their money. The NCAA did allow each institution to decide. So a lot of that will depend on, how much money they have, if they're fully funded, where does their money come from, how many players do they have on their roster, how many players do they have incoming. There's a lot of factors that it's going to go into it. I think if you're a 2020, I would recommend having a conversation with your college coach as soon as possible about that. Outside of the 2020s, I think this will be kind of hopefully a one-time rare situation where colleges are just trying to do the best they can do with COVID-19. And I personally don't blame them at all. If I was a senior right now in college, I'd want that extra eligibility year. So while it does make it tough on our seniors in high school, I don't see it impacting us much further than that.
I totally agree. I mean, I think you hit all the right points. And I would reiterate, for seniors, talk to your college coach, get what they're thinking about all of that and see what their perspective is. All right.
Lola, do you have any thoughts, or have you talked to your college coach?
We have been talking and stuff, and I haven't talked to them since yesterday, since it was actually official, but they told us that it was coming. We all knew that the seniors were going to get an extra year. And they basically, they didn't say that it affected us really, because we're still going to be going there and playing our freshman year and everything. but it's going to be a lot different of an atmosphere since there is going to be 5 classes now. And there's obviously going to be like a lot more people on the team because like my grad year, we have 8 going in, including me. And I don't know exactly how many seniors that is, like that we have right now at Sam Houston, but like it affects us because it also gives all of the other classes that are in college right now a whole extra year. So the freshmen in college right now, they're technically like they're going to be there as long as you're going to be there basically. So like that's different, but it doesn't really affect us like as going to college and like getting to play softball there, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it's a good thing that we didn't talk about too, to keep in mind. Some seniors are going to choose not to stay, right? Because maybe they already have jobs lined up for the fall. Maybe they have a specific, they chose a specific major where they need to get going right away. Maybe they already got into grad school, whatever it could be. So I definitely think it'll be a school to school case. All right, next one is from Emily Baker. If we're asked to attend a camp by the coach, but then after we don't hear anything from them because we can't talk to them right now, should we take that as bad news, or are you guys hearing from them? Do you want that, JB?
Yeah, I can start it, or Mike can throw something in on this one too. But yeah, I mean, I would say this. It's really hard to understand what the coaches are going through when it comes to the whole recruiting process. So I would never look at it as bad just because you're not getting the instant feedback that you want. What I can tell you is that college coaches are extremely busy and they can't always get to what your needs are as soon as you would like them. And that's the same for us. I mean, even there are times where I'll text a college coach asking for some specific information and I don't get a response back and days go by. And part of me could think, okay, well, they're blowing me off. But then a week later, I get the response back because, that's just how much they had on their plate. So I don't think that you want to take it negative if you go to a camp and you don't get instant feedback that that they don't want you or whatever, because I think sometimes we don't know where they're at in the process. So it's a little bit different once you're a junior and a senior. We should at least be able to help you. So it doesn't mean that they're not interested, but if you are a junior or a senior, you could absolutely come to me or Mike or Kate or anybody who's helping out recruiting and say, hey, I went to the camp. Can you ask the coach, what their thoughts on me are? And if you are a junior or a senior, we can get some specific information about that.
All right, the next 2 questions are about the one softball app, so I'll take them because we only have a couple minutes left. So Marley Brownlow says she's new to the Blaze and you're wondering what the app is. And Haley Carter asks about, asks about a code. So yeah, the One Softball app is a online tool that we use. It's a mobile tool for athletes on their phone. Basically, you can have communication on there. You can watch videos, complete homework assignments. It's a way for your coaches to stay in contact with you during this time. It's a way to train. And then as the Blaze organization, we are going to be sending content out to you guys starting tomorrow, every day for the next 30 days. So basically the month of April. So we definitely want to make sure you guys are on board. If you don't have your code, contact your coach because your coach has your team's athlete code for you to get on board. You can also contact me. I put my email in the chat, ccain@texasblaze.org, but work through your coach first because we want to make sure that your coaches are on board as well. All right. Kennedy Miller asks, is it better to email all coaches of a school on one email or email them separately? Personally, I put them all together because that increases the chances that one of them will read it. And out of the staff, they might just have one coach, like the grad assistant, that is in charge of reading the emails. So personally, I would just put them on all there together. JB, Prinzo, do y'all have a different recommendation?
No, I'm with you. I haven't heard any negative feedback on sending the email to multiple coaches. We haven't seen that on Sports Recruits at all, and that's the template that we use mostly for sending emails. So I definitely think you can put all 4 or 5 coaches, whatever is on there, send it to all of them. Because like you said, typically there's one recruiting coordinator out of the group that actually handles all the recruiting, and then the other coaches get involved when the recruiting gets a little heavier.
And I would say even when I'm emailing coaches, a lot of times I do the same thing. So I might be emailing the head coach, but I'll also attach the assistant coach, or if I know that there's a recruiting coordinator. So I think it's definitely a good idea to put multiple coaches to one school if you're sending out an email through Sports Recruits. And luckily Sports Recruits makes that incredibly easy to do. I want to touch on the technology one that you were talking about a minute ago, Kate, with the One Softball, because the question somebody had asked are, what apps are you guys using? We had somebody that's new to the Blaze that asked that question. And, you know, for recruiting, if we're talking about recruiting, then Sports Recruits is the main platform that you want to make sure you have up and running for you and your, if you're an 8th grader and above. But when it comes to other apps that are helping with other areas, not only recruiting, but the player development piece and all that, then One Softball is the other primary app that you want to make sure that you're a part of, because the Blaze has One Softball ready for you guys. It's provided for you. So you need to take advantage of it, because there's so many ways in which that app can help you. So those are really the two main technology apps that you really need to make sure you're focused on, is Sports Recruits if you're 8th and above, and then One Softball if you're in our program, period. And then also Blast is another tech company that we're partnered with that's geared around offense, and it's incredibly powerful as well. So if you're not sure about Blast, ask your coach to reach out to us, or you can reach out to us directly. I know we're going to put all of our information in the chat box for you guys. So yeah, you're always welcome to ask additional questions about that.
Next question, Kennedy Miller talking about, can we talk about the use of Twitter in the recruiting process and how best to utilize it? Mike, did you want that one?
Sorry, find that mute button again. Yeah, no, definitely use social media. Twitter's probably the best spot for that, because a lot of the coaches have Twitter. So you could go and friend their, go ahead and, the @ the college coach. So there's particular coaches you're trying to reach out to, and you're doing something great in high school or select tournament, and you have a little video clip you want to make sure that they get to see. Put that on there. We have kids that do it all the time, and we have actually college coaches that reach out to us and let us know that they see the videos. So that's kind of another way, kind of like Sports Recruits, to reach out to the college coaches and just kind of send them little video clips. But on the flip side, remember social media, ladies. The colleges can see your social media, so be careful what you're putting on there, what you're doing, and stuff like that, because it kind of tells a story about who you are, and it may turn a coach off. So, if you are curious about it, you may ask a coach to look at it. But again, just be careful what you put on there, because they do look at that. That's schools will lose interest with the wrong stuff on there. I could stuff, and I'm talking not just Twitter, whatever the stuff y'all use, Instagram, Facebook, but just be careful with that stuff.
Yeah, and I want to also just to expand on that. Colleges now, a lot of times their volunteer assistant coaches are going to be their social media trolls. So they're going to literally go out and they're going to look at the list of recruits that they have on their whiteboard, and they're going to go through all their social media looking for potential character flaws that they may not want to deal with. So understand they are proactively looking at your social media feeds, trying to find out, the type of character personality that you guys have. So just don't put anything in social media that you wouldn't want a college coach to know about, because ultimately, if you're being recruited by a college, they're going to know what's on your social media.
Go ahead, Kate.
I was going to say, and AK asked us a question about this. She said, should we tag coaches in videos we post? And I was actually going to use AK as an example of one of the Twitter accounts that you can look at if you're an athlete and you're looking for what I think is the right way to do it. She doesn't post too often, but she posts things that she's working on. She shows drills with intent. She posts some game footage, and she tags coaches. And I think that's great, especially right now, because like we talked about earlier, coaches are in front of their social media. So I think, again, you don't want to do it too often. You don't want to be annoying, but if you have stuff with intent that you really want to show them, it's a great way to just reiterate what JB and Mike said. Use social media to help your recruiting journey.
Absolutely. Go ahead.
Even if you don't tag a coach, go on your Twitter feed and post you're doing drills at home. I mean, especially right now, because the fact that shows the college coaches that you're not at home chilling out, laying down, doing your nails or whatever. You're out there actually still working, getting yourself prepared. So, again, that just shows that your softball's on your mind. Softball's what you love. And so I definitely, even if you're not tagging coaches, just ever so often, every day or so you're doing a drill, have someone videotape you doing the drill and just say, hey, look, I'm working. I think that'll help, with everything that's going on right now. Anything you can do to show that you're working, that'll help.
Yeah, but I want to reiterate, because I have had this conversation with coaches before. Like Coach Kate said, make sure anything that you use that tags a college coach has a very specific purpose or intent. Don't just mass tag coaches to things that you don't think they would find interesting, because sometimes with social media, I think we overdo it and we post too many things that aren't very significant. So you could post anything you want, like Coach Mike said. Don't worry about tagging the coach. If you just want you doing a ground ball drill in the driveway, that's fine. Post that. People that want to find out what you're doing are going to look for that. But don't necessarily tag a college coach unless it's very significant information that you're trying to get out there, because then it can become to the point where you would turn them off, where they're not going to follow you if every time you hit a single in high school, you're tagging coaches. So just make sure it's significant. And I also want to, that's the same thing for the videos on sports recruits, is it can be a little bit overwhelming if you open your sports recruits and there's, 120 videos. So make sure that the videos you're posting are significant and they're really showing something of real value. And I would also say you take advantage of the tools Sports Recruits has to comp your videos, because I think it makes more sense to have a 2-minute highlight reel of your high school of the most impressive things that you've done than to have 32 videos of your high school season where you had a single in the gap and then you had this and you stole a base. Instead of doing everything on Sports Recruits, make sure they're significant and then try to comp them together to make sure you're being respectful of the coach's time if you want them to watch your videos. Because no coach has the time to go to Sports Recruits and go through, 80 videos that are on a page.
A couple of things, since you brought that up. On Sports Recruits, you guys can also turn on notifications. It will send you a notification when a college views a video or your profile. So it doesn't automatically turn on, doesn't ask you if you want to turn it on. You have to go into your profile to turn it on. Again, if you have any questions with that, you can reach out to me directly. I can get you hooked up. But it's pretty cool because it lets you know instantly when somebody looks at your video.
There's a great question by Marley that we should answer that I'll take. Did you see that one just come through, Caitlin?
No, I saw one from Lance Jones.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. Yeah, it is Lance. My bad.
Yeah, it's a good one. Yeah, you want to take it?
Yeah, I do. So the question was, should we expect our coaches, meaning your travel or your Blaze coaches in this case, to reach to colleges for our child? So obviously from a parent. So this is the way I would ask you to think about it. It's so important that parents drive the bus. The parents and kids drive the bus. If you need something from your coaches, you should not hesitate to go to them and ask them for anything. But make sure you're giving them something specific that you need them to do for you, and you're not just expecting that just randomly they're going to be going out and working every day to bring interest to your kid. Because what I will tell people that I work with on the recruiting is that whether this is you, Lance, or anybody else in our program, I will go out and get information from you, for you, and for your child if you come to me and ask me for that information. So create a to-do list for your coach and say, Coach, can you do these things for me in our journey? And if your coach is not able to do those, maybe they don't have the right connection or they haven't been doing the recruiting piece, then you can come to me or Mike or Kate or anybody involved in the recruiting process for our program that come to us with specific to-dos and then let us chip away. Don't just kind of expect us in the background to be doing everything where your phone just starts ringing. So drive the bus, be the catalyst for that journey, and then use all the resources and tools that the Blaze has put together to help you be successful, because we literally have every tool you need to be successful in recruiting, but you need to make sure you're taking the lead and then using us to help you.
Yeah, I'd like to add to that, JB. I think I would, kind of work the process as if the coach isn't doing anything for you, because you want to drive the bus, like JB mentioned. Have using your coaches contact colleges as one of the many branches in your recruiting tree of what you do. Of course, we want the coaches to do that, but again, the biggest advocates are going to be you and your child for your recruiting journey. So just use the coach as part of that process, but work so hard as if the coach isn't doing it. And I think that'll make sure you get everything covered.
Okay, we should wrap up just because we've gone about 10 minutes over. But the questions are great. Do we have any more questions that weren't answered?
We do have a couple more, not many. You want to take them real quick?
Yeah, real quick.
All right. I like this one. Emily asked, how do we know exactly what type of athlete we are in regards to what level we are?
Ooh, it's a good one.
You want to talk about on deck with it? I think that's a great piece to kind of know where you rank.
So, yeah, I mean, I'll start and then I'm going to try to keep my part short because I want you guys to add something in, or Kate or Mike. So I think you can start with data. I mean, that's a good place to start with understanding where you're at athletically. So, and on deck is going to help you do that, right? If you have your on deck measurement scores and your on deck score, you can kind of see where you rank with other athletes in the country that are your age. And I think that if you are top 10% in your class in speed, right, then you should know that you're going to be somebody that a school who's recruiting speed is going to be looking at. But if you're only, in the top 50% of speed in the country, then you may not gain as much interest through your speed. So you can start with data, and then you can understand that the higher the level of the college, the harder it is to get their attention. So I tell athletes this sometimes. If you're going to put your name in the hat to play at Florida, you need to understand that you've put your name in the hat with players from across the entire United States, right? And so you're going to be competing with those players from the entire United States. So that's a bigger hat to deal with. Doesn't mean you can't cut through it and end up going there like Riley did. It just means that it's a lot more competition. So you have to really look at where you stack up in those data points. But if you're looking at more of a regional college, then the names in the hat are going to be a little bit smaller. So you don't necessarily are going to have to cut through as much on the data. So you can start with where the data stacks up for your ability level. And then I would say from there, just being honest with yourself and looking at the types of players that you see on TV or the types of players that you know, and are you really feeling like you're on the same page with them both athletically and in your work ethic? Because if two of your teammates, are working their tail off and you're working half that much, it's going to be hard to put your name in the hat with them to play at the same schools that they're looking at, if that makes sense.
Yeah, one of the best things I ever did, and it was a tough conversation, but my junior year, I went to my high school coach and asked him where he thought I ranked. And I asked him to be very direct. And he asked me, well, do you want to pitch or do you want to go as a position player? And I said, pitch. And he said, okay, I think you're a Division III player. So he was very direct and let me know where he thought I kind of fit in nationally and what school would be a great place for me to go to. So I think it's good to ask your coaches during the recruiting process, ask your trainers, just get an idea from them. That they can give you some good feedback.
And real quick, because I want Lolo to touch on this in a second, but I want to say this while it's on my mind. In my opinion, it's not about, you need to make the journey in the school that you go to about you. Don't get too caught up in what level that is. Because sometimes I see, whether it's parents or players, they get in the way of the process because they're not open-minded, you know? So the way I look at it with my own daughter, because I have a daughter who will be entering the recruiting, you know, journey here in the next couple of years. Listen, if she can go get an education and she can play a sport that she loves doing it, I could care less what the uniform name says on it. And whether that's D1, D2, D3, or whatever her journey is for her, then I'm going to be grateful for that. And I think as parents and players, if we can understand that it's truly amazing opportunity to play college softball at any level. So just don't get too hung up in thinking that, you know, you have to be playing in the SEC, you know, because to the Blaze, we want to help everybody. Whether you play at a JUCO or whether you play at Tennessee, you have the same importance to us as a program. So with that, Lolo, I was just going to ask you, how did you try to figure out where you fit in the recruiting landscape? How did you go about trying to learn about that?
Well, I mainly, like, try to stay true to myself and be honest with myself with where I thought that I was as a level of a player compared to other players that I saw going to, like, Florida, for example, but also other players going and committed to JUCOs as well. So I try to be honest with myself for that. And I also, because what was important for which school I chose was which school I thought was going to be the best for me for my future, not just for like a softball level. And like Sam Houston, they're known for their criminal justice program, and that's the field I'm going to go into. So that kind of like made me realize that Sam Houston was a big school that I was interested in. But I also wanted to make sure that the place that I went to, it felt like home to me, because you're going to be there for 4 years and you're going to be with those coaches for 4 years. And I wanted to make sure that I was comfortable with where I was at, not just caring about how big the school was or how small the school was. I wanted to make sure that I had like the overall picture with it all.
Very nice. Yeah. Next question.
I think that's it, JB.
There is one that I think we should address that I just saw pop up on the regular chat, because we've been asked this before, and it is about sports recruits. And the question is sports recruits available only for 14, 16, or 18, or if a 12U kid wants to join, can we do that? Mike, do you want to address that, or do you want me to? Mike was kicking back, taking his hat off.
No, I was scratching my head. No, just like I put in the chat, you know, we want all our 14, 16, and 18U teams to have it. That way we can, you know, take care of the recruiting on everybody's end. But 12U, I mean, if there are people that want to start in that process, we can definitely get you guys hooked up.
Basically an option. It's an option if you're 12U, and we have had 12U kids a lot in the past who get on sports recruits, but we don't require it as part of our program.
Correct. So, but I mean, you know, some people are like, well, you know, the recruiting doesn't start for me, but it's also good to start to get used to the process, get used to sports recruits, try to, you know, have a good understanding, start researching the schools. That way you have a plan before it starts. That way you're not in your freshman year going, oh, what do I got to do? You can do, you know, get all those what do I got to do questions out of the way in 8th grade. And that way you're rolling right into the process, and, you know, you're on fire. So,
hey, let me grab this question real quick too. I know that I mean, you guys are asking great questions, and we still have a lot of people with us. So let me see if I can address this real quick. Where do we get the data from? My daughter has been to softball factory camps. They've reached out to us a couple of times, but we're told it's a scam. And what would my first step to reaching out to coaches be? So I just wanted to address third-party recruiting opportunities. I don't think they're necessarily scams. I wouldn't be that harsh. Some are definitely better than others. But this is what I will tell you guys as Blaze members. We have already done all the groundwork, everything that's needed to be successful in recruiting. You know, I think it's, you know, whether you want to play at the highest level or not, we already have everything in place. If you're willing to do the work and use our resources, you can be successful at recruiting, and you don't need any third-party services in terms of recruiting services. But but that doesn't mean that they can't have value. So I'm not here to say that anyone does or does not have value. If you reach out to me, I'll give you my personal opinions on ones that I've had experience with, but there are some companies out there that are doing a great job. So for an example, if you're a player that's out in the middle of kind of nowhere playing on a team that doesn't really have a national brand recognition, then recruiting services could be your best bet to getting yourself into the right space to be recruited by higher level schools. But if you're in the Texas Blaze, you're already in that environment to be successful. So you don't need to pay a bunch of money to somebody to help you because we already have all the resources you need.
Yeah, the 30s, I mean, you got to remember they're kind of in the same situation we are. They have multiple players. They may come off as, you know, it's just me and you or one-on-one, but they have multiple players that they're working for just as we are. And so, you know, a lot of their things are the same things. They have a sports recruits type thing. They have, you know, that communicates with schools. So like JB said, a lot of stuff that those people can provide, you already get that with the Blaze. You get additional money for it other than the be recruited fee. But again, it's minimal compared to a lot of the third parties. But again, like JB said, though, there are some third parties that have helped kids. But again, it really comes down to what Caitlyn said earlier. It's about the parents and the kids and what you guys and how you guys drive this bus, because ultimately y'all are the ones that are going to get this job done. Colleges, honestly, they wish they didn't even have to talk to us. They'd like to just deal with players and parents, and that's it. So, again, you know, we're here to help you guys out. So anything you guys ever need, please feel free to reach out to us. We're here for you guys.
I'd say let's go ahead and wrap up. Kate, are you good as far as on the questions? We can try to get to those maybe and respond to them in a chat. But, you know, I just want to say on behalf of all of our panel members, thank you guys for joining us. Our very first webinar. I know we got some good information to you guys. Probably wasn't perfect. I can tell you with each one of these, we'll get a little bit better at it and understanding the best way to be efficient and get the best information to you guys. But I felt like we had a great turnout. And of course, like Mike already said, you know, just because this webinar is going to end in 1 minute doesn't mean you can't come to us for anything that you need. And I can speak for everybody in Blaze leadership, maybe not Lolo. She probably doesn't want to hear any calls about what your Blaze needs are. But outside of her, all of us three are here 24/7 to help any of our Blaze members. So do not hesitate to reach to us or have your coaches reach to us because we are absolutely here for you guys. So thank you all for participating and look for our remote training that's going to be kicking off tomorrow through the One Softball app. If you're not on it, get on it quick. And that's all I got. So anybody else?
Thank you, guys.
Thank y'all.
Thank you all.
Everybody have a good rest of their day.
You too.
Go on.